John chapter 11 tells the story of Jesus and his friend Lazarus, who is about to die. In this story, we hear about how God has the power over death and that how resurrection is a part of the way that God works. Listen to this story told in 4 different parts and how it can help us when dealing with death in our lives or in dealing with the issues that we're facing when we are facing the coronavirus.
The Holy Gospel according to John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. Mary was the one who anointed the Lord with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent a message to Jesus, Lord, he whom you love is ill. But when Jesus heard it, he said, This illness does not lead to death. Rather, it is for God's glory, so that the Son of God may be glorified through it. Accordingly, through Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. After having heard that Lazarus was ill, he stayed 2 days longer in the place where he was. Then after this, he said to the disciples, Let us go to Judea again. The disciples said to him, Rabbi, the Jews were just now trying to stone you, and you are going there again? Jesus answered, And there are not 12 hours of daylight? Those who walk during the day do not stumble because they see the light of this world, but those who walk at night stumble because the light is not in them. After saying this, he told them, Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I'm going there to awaken him. The disciples said to him, Lord, if you've fallen asleep, he will be all right. Jesus, however, had been speaking about his death, and they thought he was referring merely to sleep. Then Jesus told him plainly, Lazarus is dead. For your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let's go to him. Thomas, who was called the twin, said to his fellow disciples, Let us go. Let us also go, that we may die with him.
In this first section, Jesus is talking with his disciples and telling them that he's not going to go to help Lazarus out, even though they think that he should go so that Lazarus might not die. But instead, Jesus says they will get to see the glory of God. There's a lot of argumenting going on, people discussing what is the best thing for Jesus to do. What should they do? Should they remain safe? Should they get involved in this situation? A lot of confusion about what Jesus is saying about sleep and death and dying. But in the end, Jesus says, I'm glad that I wasn't there when Lazarus died, so that you might see the glory of God, that you might be able to believe in me and believe in God's power. At the time of death, we also have all this time of arguing and wondering and being confused about what's happening next.
When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them about their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, while Mary stayed home. Martha said to Jesus, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask of him. Jesus said to her, Your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? She said to him, Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world.
In this next section, we hear Jesus finally arrives at the scene. And before he even gets there, Martha, the sister of Lazarus, goes out to Jesus and says to him, Lord, if you would have come here, our brother wouldn't have died. And Jesus has this discussion about life and death and resurrection, and this real deep conversation about faith with Martha at the time of Lazarus's death. Because they are having this conversation, Jesus gets to say these great words that are a comfort to me and to many people, that I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me will never die, and those who believe in me will live forever. Jesus has this powerful words to say to us when we see death. And then Jesus asks Martha the question, do you believe? And Martha gives this great word of faith, of her trust in God, in her commitment to the words that Jesus has spoken to her. Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Christ, the Messiah, the one who is coming into the world. And so even in the midst of death, we can be trusting in God, and we can state more clearly in the midst of our doubts, our belief that God will be with us.